our Warner Robins candidates here. We're going to have a live chat today. Try to have a little bit of fun with everyone. It looks like Daron Lee is running behind, and our lovely Eva Folse is having some sound problems, so I will be her sound on this end. I'll just have to hold up my phone. That's why she's holding onto a phone. So, like I said, we're going to have a little bit of fun. It'll be about 90 minutes long in order for us to fit in some serious city issues questions and a little bit of trivia. And our candidates also have some lovely photos to show us. You can follow us along. You can also tweet us using hashtag the number 4 WRMayor. We're asking that you send in a fun kind of question for the candidates to answer near the end. Something for you to get to know their personality. The example that we've used around the newsroom is maybe, what's your personal theme song? Our candidates will be, we'll keep them on track using some sound effects. The first of which will be a ticking clock. When their time is almost up, they'll have a ticking clock. It'll sound like this. And when their time is up, they'll get one of these. Okay? And to our candidates, let's all have fun and be respectful. For those of you out there, I have pre-warned them all that we can turn off their sound on this end or their videos. But if they break any of those rules, or if the rules aren't followed, hopefully we won't have to do that. So first we're going to start. Say hi to all our candidates. It looks like Daron Lee has joined us. We have former Councilman Mike Brashear.
Good afternoon and welcome to the second installment of Google Hangout, brought to you live by Macon.com.
Thank you. And Robins Air Force Base employee Chuck Chalk. Sorry, Chuck, we can't hear you. I don't know what that's about. And of course, we have Miss Eva.
Thank you for having me.
And Councilman Daron Lee.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. Good to see everyone.
Okay. And Joe Musselwhite, recently retired Public Works Director.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here today.
And former firefighter Randy Toms.
Good afternoon. It's good to be with everybody.
We're going to start this thing out a little bit like just about any other candidate forum that you would go to, with opening statements. Our candidates have 2 minutes apiece to give us their spiel, so to say. We'll start with Mike Brashear.
Yes, well, hello again. Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to be able to chat with you today. My name is Mike Brashear. I'm 65 years old. I've been a 20-year resident of the city of Warner Robins. I came here back in 1982 for the first time with Northrop, and opened a facility down on Industrial Park Boulevard. Came back in 92. I ran that facility for 3 years and transferred back to Chicago. And then in 98, we came back to Warner Robins to make this our home and our retirement place. I've got 39 years of business management experience in the aerospace and defense industries, beginning on the manufacturing floor and retiring as a senior vice president of operations. So I'm more than qualified to run a business such as the city of Warner Robins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brashear. Chuck Chalk, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you again today here on Google Plus and Macon.com. Thank you for Christina and the Telegraph for hosting this, and welcome to everybody. I am Chuck. I'm a civil servant on base. I've been associated with the Air Force for 27 years, 20 years active duty, about half of that enlisted, half as an officer, and now 7 years as a civil servant, doing a number of different jobs to include executive support, protocol, logistics management, and currently fulfilling a role as a logistics manager for the C-130J program. Glad to be here. I look forward to this forum. I look forward to earning your vote for mayor of Warner Robins on November 5th.
Okay. And Ms. Folse, could you give us a 2-minute opening statement?
I'll check it.
I'm a 43-year resident of Warner Robins. We came here in 1970, and we have experienced all this growth and changes in Warner Robins. I'd like to be the next mayor. I think we're at a turning point here where we need to do things a little different. We can do better, I think, some of the ways that we're doing things. I appreciate everyone tuning in to become more informed, and hope y'all get out and vote on November the 5th. My birthday's on the 4th.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Folse and Mr. Daron Lee. Two-minute opening statement.
Hello, can y'all hear me okay? Are we?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Maybe it's on our end. Good afternoon. I'm Daron Lee. I look forward to serving as mayor of Warner Robins, Georgia. I am one who's homegrown here. I've had a chance to travel outside of the boundaries and really build relationships. Get a background that has prepared me for mayor. I had a long vision of being mayor long before, not just yesterday. But with that in mind, I've been prepped in leadership training schools in the state of Georgia, also with the University of Georgia and Robert E. Knox Leadership Institute. And really, I just have a lot to bring to the table. A lot of seeds have been sown, and we have the chance as an entire city and region to reap what we have sown in the fields out there in economic development and other parts of the industry. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Joe Musselwhite.
Hey, thank you, Christina. Pleasure to be here today, and thanks for everyone for participating. I was born in Warner Robins in 1953. I was actually born in Perry in a house. There wasn't a hospital here then. That was back when you were born and went home the same day. I've been in Warner Robins my entire 60 years of my life. Warner Robins is my home. I'm vested here. I was educated here, and then after I become a city employee, I went to the Carl Vinston School of Institute. I want to thank the city for probably paying the better part of $25,000 or $30,000 to educate me, where I would be qualified to run the city. I look forward to serving the people. I am a public servant. I've done that through the capacity of Public Works Director. As a mayor, I will have a transparent government. There will be no secrets in City Hall. There will be no items on the agenda that aren't on there before the meeting starts. And we'll move our city forward. We're going to make good progress. We're going to clean up areas of town. And very soon I've been saying I'm going to clean it up. I'm prepared to tell you my plan to do that. Thank you very much. And please vote for Joe Musselwhite on November 5th.
Thank you, Mr. Musselwhite. And Mr. Randy Toms.
Hello. It's good to be with you. Thanks, Christina. Thanks to the rest of the folks out there listening. My name is Randy Toms, and I, too, was living here when I was born a little south of here, but my family was already here when I was born, so I've been here since 1960. Was educated here in elementary school, junior high, high school. Eventually, later in life, I got a college degree from Georgia Military College right there on Davis Drive. I've been here all my life. I was a public servant in public safety for 27 years. I worked as a bailiff in the Superior Court system of Houston County for 15 years. And so my whole life has been about serving people. I know a lot about the city of Warner Robins. I know a lot about the city government. I have had extensive leadership training throughout my career as a firefighter and a fire officer. And I know how to bring the style of leadership to the city government that Warner Robins needs, and especially the city employees need to go out and deliver the services that are required for the citizens paying for those services. I've been married to my wife for 31 years. We have 2 children who are both married, and we have 3 grandchildren. And I want to be the mayor of Warner Robins, to make Warner Robins the kind of city that it needs to be for the next generation and the next generations to come. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this, and I just ask for your support and your vote on November the 5th or before during the early voting. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all. Now we're going to do some one of the hopefully sort of fun things to get to know everyone a little bit better on a personal level. I asked all of the candidates to bring a childhood photo with them and share it with us. I told them that if they did theirs, I'd do mine. So here it goes. This is of me and my big brother. I'm sorry it's so small. I live away from home, so it's hard to get my hands on a good photo. But that's my big brother there, and that's me on the right-hand side. My grandmother made the dress that I'm wearing and the bow tie that my brother is wearing. So enough about me. We're going to start with Mr. Chuck Chalk for his. You've got 30 seconds to talk about it, Chuck.
Okay, let's see if this pops up. I think it's coming. Well, if there were a picture, it would be a picture of me and my little sister, ages probably 3 and 2. She's about 1.5 years younger than me. I have 10 brothers and sisters. One of them is deceased. He actually worked here in Warner Robins, right next to where my headquarters is, which used to be a Midas store back in the 70s. We would come up from Cordele and visit with him when he was working here. He was 8 years older than me, I think. And had memories of Warner Robins driving in off the interstate as a young man in the back of a '66 Buick Wildcat, wondering when is this farmland going to end. Of course, it was only a couple miles, but as a kid it seems like a long way. So I have a large family. Most of them live here in Crisp and Dooley County. I have still a sister up in Michigan, a brother in South Carolina, family throughout Georgia and Florida. So that's a picture of me. Hopefully it pops up.
Okay. And Ms. Folse, we'd like to see a picture of you as a child in 30 seconds to talk about it. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Folse.
Okay, the picture's starting to come up.
Do you have your picture to hold up to the camera?
Yes, I do. This is a picture of me making my first communion, and it was taken in England.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Folse. Mr. Daron Lee, can we see a photo of you and what you look like as a child? Talk to us about it a little bit.
I don't know if you're talking to me.
Yes, Mr. Lee, we're talking to you.
Okay, okay. This is my brother. My mom and dad had taken us to Disney World, and believe it or not, I'm someone, I love balloons still to this day. It's a softer side of me. To this day, I enjoy Disney World. I try to go every chance I get. I don't believe you ever really just, grow out of your childhood. one thing about children, they have imagination, and dreams do come true. I remember that going to this where dreams do come true. And one thing that I'm doing now, it really is working toward a dream, working toward a vision, and that is to become the next mayor of Warner Robins, Georgia. It started early in my life.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Joe Musselwhite. You want to tell us about it, Joe?
Yeah, my grandparents lived in Cordell, Georgia on 14th Avenue West. Some of my kin people started a farmer's market down there. I think his name was Frank. I used to spend a lot of time, I spend the summers down in Cordell with my grandparents, and this picture was actually taken down in their area. They had this made of me, I think it was 1955. And I had very good childhood memories. I had good parents. I have 3 sisters who I love very much. And I'm happy to be a candidate for Mayor of Warner Robins.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Musselwhite. Mr. Randy Toms. You have a photo for us?
I do. I'll do the best I can with this. I don't know if you can see it or not. But that was when that's when I was probably about 5 years old. Lived here in Warner Robins, of course. Probably hadn't started school yet. Probably had these pictures made at Olin Mills Studio, which everybody that's from here will remember Olin Mills, and I'm sure at some point had their family photo made there. And it just was a very happy time in my life when I had 2 brothers and my mom and dad, and we lived in the manor around the MacArthur Boulevard area over behind the Dairy Queen off of Watson there. And it was just a happy time, and I want to be your next mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Toms. And Mr. Mike Brashear.
Yes, hopefully you can see the picture. This is my brother and I'm doing my best impersonation of Mr. Gary Lee, with the striped suit and pretty bow tie. But in this picture, my brother was about 9 and I was 7. As you well know, that I grew up and did my time in the Air Force and worked with the Air Force. My brother was a U.S. Marine in combat wounded veterans in Vietnam, 1968. So very proud of my brother. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank all of you. I think that was kind of interesting. If we have time at the end, Mr. Chalk, I'll let you try to show yours again. Sorry about the difficulties there.
No problem.
Now we're going to try to get into some city issues questions. Most of these were submitted to the Telegraph from our readers. Well, I'm sorry, all of them were submitted except for one question, which I'll tell you about later on. The first one is from Cecil Buchanan. He's 76 years old, and he says, "The north side of town has been forgotten. We pay our taxes just like the folks on the south side of town." He says there are 2 homes in his neighborhood that need to be removed, but he's made no headway with contacting the city to do so. How would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what are your thoughts on the future for the city's north side? We're going to start with Ms. Folse.
Well, I'd have to look at the properties and see what the situation is with them. If you say they're vacant, the property's vacant.
I don't know.
Or occupied, or what? I'm one of these people that believes that private property should be absolute, and I don't think we should go and use as eminent domain indiscriminately like that to just tear down properties that involve legal issues, and you have to be careful how you go about it. I think that the good thing to do is to encourage people to keep up their property. I think that's the difference between Macon and Warner Robins. We have a different culture here. We have people from all over the world, and I think that we do take some pride in how we keep up our property.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Folse. And Mr. Lee, could you tell us how would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what are your thoughts on the future for the city's north side? You have a minute to give us an answer there.
Well, regards to Mr. Buchanan's concern, we've already taken the first steps, the first steps in applying for federal aid, and also, but by way of applying for the Choice Neighborhood Planning Grant. It's a $5,000 planning grant that's funded by the federal government. We're also working with our community development and also redevelopment, and also the community partners who make up the Warner Robins collaborative partnership. So the grants have been submitted. Of course, some things are tied up in D.C. We are a #1 contender of being awarded the funding in order to bring forth a plan with contractors to the table in order to address the blight, to address the abandoned buildings, and make this North Davis Drive the place it used to be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Joe Musselwhite, could you tell us in a minute how would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what are your thoughts on the future for the city's north side?
Oh, absolutely. This is my favorite question. Mr. Buchanan, I'm going to form a coalition of public works, fire, police, code enforcement, local record people, volunteers, people with weed eaters, chainsaws, backhoes. We're coming in the north side of town, and we're going to clean it up. We have local laws, state laws, federal laws, ordinances, municipal court system. People own these properties, and they are responsible for them. I'm all for grants and aids, but everything's not a free gratis program. People are responsible for their own property. We'll notify them, follow the law, tell them what law they're in violation of. Of course, we'll help them any way we can, but we're going to get these properties cleaned up, and it won't take long to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Musselwhite. Randy Toms, how would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what do you think is the future for the city's north side?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to realize that Mr. Buchanan is absolutely right. The north side of town has been neglected for a long time, and it is in much need of cleaning up and repairing. And we do need to put together people that will go out and work, but I also think that we can develop more of a pride in ownership in our certain areas of town that need to be cleaned up. And we can do that by joining forces with not just our departments within the city, but also churches and private organizations that are willing to get out and help people get cleaned up. Because a lot of the times we have to realize that we are where we are. We can't go back and unring a bell. We can't go back and do anything differently. We have to start from where we are, and that is that the north side of town has been neglected, and it does need cleaning up, and we do need to get it in a situation where we can bring new businesses in and bring in new things for people to do in that part of town to attract people to that part of town.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toms. And Mr. Mike Brashear, how would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what's the future of our north side?
Well, thank you, Mr. Buchanan, for your question. Over the course of the last 2 years, I've been on City Council, and I've worked very well in cooperation with Daron Lee and the other councilmen and councilwomen, Ms. Robbins we can't forget, and we have specifically focused on the north side of town. We currently have Alberta Road being resurfaced. We've done new stormwater drains up on King Street where it connects with North Davis. We've done, we purchased a property at Walker's Pine and going to clean it up and turn it into a passive park. We purchased land up at Alberta in North Houston for a new sports complex in that area. So over the course of the last 2 years, we've been very focused and very attentive in trying to improve that area of town. With the next 4 years as mayor, I will continue to collaborate with the council, setting priorities and pursuing the cleanup and the redevelopment of that section of town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brashear. And Mr. Chuck Chalk, how would you help Mr. Buchanan, and what's the future of our north side? Sorry, we're not hearing you.
Mr. Buchanan, you pose a question that we hear frequently is what we're going to do with the north side. I want to ensure that we communicate with citizens, such as receiving the feedback from you and other citizens. We got to have that open transaction of people's concerns. The city is there to serve people, and we need to hear from the people in order to serve them well. We need to work with property owners wherever they are, north side, south side, east, or west, and work with them first by letting them know what the standard is and whether they are or are not meeting those standards, and then help them get to where they are meeting the standards, whether that be encouraging them to do it on their own or to bring in resources and help them get to that point, or even having to go in and use some sort of eminent domain to take care of the property. We also need to listen and work in those areas for economic development. We need to keep crime down low. We need to encourage residential growth as well as business growth in those areas. And business and residential growth isn't going to happen unless we have low crime. Thank you.
No, I can't hear nothing.
I can't either.
I can hear y'all.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
can hear
sorry. Sorry about that. Apparently my computer wanted to mute. I'll re-ask the question. It's about downtown revitalization. From Kim Stewart, a teacher here in Warner Robins. She asked, what will you do about downtown revitalization? And we'll start with Mr. Daron Lee.
Hello. Can you hear me just fine?
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me just fine? Okay. All right. One thing that we are doing that I think we can do better is we need to collaborate more with, we have different organizations like downtown development, as well as you have redevelopment and community development, as well as the citizens who make up this entire city of Warner Robins within the community. We really have to get together and get everybody to the table. It seems as though everyone is doing their own, they have their own agenda, but basically we really need to get down and sit at the table and work toward a common goal. There's something that that can be done, but we have to do it together instead of the redevelopment doing one thing, community development doing another, and downtown development concentrating on one agenda item as well. We need to sit at the table, look at the available grants, and look at the expertise we have in the room, and really move toward the common goal of really creating a downtown or revitalizing that area.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Musselwhite, what would you do about downtown revitalization?
Well, I'd relook at some of the plans that the council, mayor and council, and then these authorities have had done over the years. Probably close to $500,000 has been spent on studies about revitalization downtown. Nothing's been done. In 2009, when Mr. Haverilla was the mayor, for a brief period there, council approved $150,000 to enhance Commercial Circle. I personally have sit in 25 meetings in the last 3 years about this, and nothing's been done. The plan's in order. There's no reason that the work don't start today. That'll be a good start, and then we need to grow from there. We need a we need a business hall. We need a meeting hall in that area. There's a lot of things we can do downtown to enhance the area.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Musselwhite. And Mr. Toms, what would you do about downtown revitalization?
Well, first of all, I would build off of the excitement that I think is already in place for revitalizing the downtown area, and then cause that excitement to grow. I've talked to numerous business owners in other parts of our city that are more than willing to not only come to that part of town if we were to revitalize downtown, but also who are available, who have monies available, and who have other avenues of private money available to bring that about. I think we need to partner with other organizations like our colleges, for example, to see what we need to do about revitalizing that downtown. What does it look like? Let's don't just talk about doing it. What do we want it to look like? And do we want to just patch it up, or do we want it to be an exciting place to be? And I think we want an exciting downtown, and it pays to go to other areas of the state and see what they've done with their areas like that, like I have in Columbus and Albany, and it really can make a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Toms. Mr. Mike Brashear, what will you do about downtown revitalization?
Thank you, Kim Stewart. This is an excellent question. We currently have in process a program to formulate and form a tax allocation district in our downtown area. What a tax allocation district would do is allow us to entice investors to come into that area, redevelop the area, and the proceeds, the reduction in taxes that they would be paying would be held into the tax allocation district to help us refund or fund the continuation of the redevelopment in that area. It's already in the works. We're currently in the process of presenting that to the Houston County Board of Education and the Houston County Board of Commissioners, hopefully to get their approval and to proceed in accomplishing that. So an excellent question, and we do have a good plan in work to help us revitalize that area.
Thank you, Mr. Brashear. Mr. Chuck Chalk, what would you do about downtown revitalization?
Well, it also the vision. We got to figure out what it is we want to do. As Mr. Musselwhite had mentioned, we've had several studies that kind of lay out some ideas, and those things I think are very good. I think they're where we can start. We need to ensure that we are working towards a revitalized downtown. What I envision is green space, walkability between the Middle Georgia State College, Georgia Military College, City Hall, the possibility of a hotel convention center in that area with green space included, filled in and wrapped around with shops in the area, and maybe even little kiosks along the walking path for people. We got to have a place where people can come and find community, a place where we can congregate. The Fall Festival was a wonderful example of that, where people could come down, rub shoulders with other people and shop owners. We also need to look at developing arts and culture in the area as well, art galleries and possibly a museum, historical center of some sort.
Can't hear you, Christina.
What would you do about downtown revitalization, Ms. Folse?
Okay, coming in from the base across the railroad track, that's the gateway to our city, and that should be pleasing and beautiful to any newcomers coming in. It's our historic record where we started and should be preserved. However, I don't know how we could do a downtown with the Watson Boulevard running right through the middle of Commercial Circle, so forth. So perhaps that should be paved with brick walkways and made into more of a park, and then we decide where we want our downtown. Perhaps it would be better across the front street and some of the other, where the railroad station newcomers meet places. And we have that wonderful boarding house where it's a wonderful place to eat. So it hasn't seemed to have taken off. I mean, we've paid for these studies, and we keep paying for these studies, and we're not doing anything. So we have to make a decision.
Thank you, Ms. Folse. And Mr. Daron Lee, could you tell us what would you do about downtown revitalization?
What I would do about downtown revitalization, I do believe you already answered that question. You asked me that question already?
No, I don't think so.
He already answered it once.
I answered it once.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Well, then we'll move on to the next question, which comes from a reader who declined to give his name, but he's 81, and he says, in this scattered mess we call the...
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, my lovely computer keeps muting. Okay. Again, this is from a reader who decided he wanted to remain anonymous. In this scattered mess we call the city of Warner Robins, the #1 problem is still traffic. Main streets become parking lots, and excessive speed through neighborhoods is common and dangerous. This person suggests a traffic safety expert. But what are your solutions to alleviate traffic and speeding in the neighborhood? Okay, I'm sorry, I was waiting for some of the feedback. Candidates, can you please make sure you have headphones in on all of your devices? Okay, sorry for that question. This question again is about traffic. He suggested a safety expert, but what would be your solutions to traffic? We'll start with Mr. Toms, who I believe has clocked out, or his video has gone out. In that case, we will start with Mr. Chalk, if you don't mind.
Hi. Well, yes, that's another very popular question and topic we get when we're out talking to folks is what are we going to do with traffic? Well, police patrols are going to help with some of those speeding issues. We just don't have enough policemen out there for crime. We certainly don't have enough for police there specifically for traffic. So we need to increase our police presence, which will hopefully deal with some of the speeding issues. Also, with the main roads that we look at, particularly Watson and Russell, we have the center turn lane, which some people refer to as a suicide lane. We can work with DOT and the county and see what we can do about possibly making that a built-up median, a beautified median where it looks good, but also helps control of some of the traffic where you have people turning left and right in front of each other at any given moment there in the traffic. Those are things that I am aware of, and certainly we will have to deal with experts and get their expert opinion on what to do with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chalk. Miss Eva Folse, what would you do to alleviate traffic?
Yes, I agree that the traffic in the neighborhoods and the speeding is definitely a problem. It's like a racetrack in my neighborhood, and we looked into putting speed bumps, and that didn't agree with that. The city didn't want to do anything, but they come around the curve, the cars just fly, and the little child or an animal doesn't have a chance. I've had a couple of pets that were killed on the street. So, yeah, I think it's a problem, and some of it's been alleviated with some of the roads that have been improved, and we just need to keep that in mind. But the development has been so scattered here; it's not really planned. It just whenever a contractor or someone wants to build a neighborhood, they just up and build it. There's no real plan for downtown.
Thank you, Ms. Folse. Mr. Daron Lee, traffic. What would you do? What would you do to alleviate it?
Well, one thing we do already have on hand. We have officers who actually do traffic surveys, and we do understand that the city of Warner Robins, it's growing. It was one of the fastest growing cities. It really was, and is on its way to be one of the top fastest growing cities in this area. We just have to prepare for growth, and more growth is coming. And we have the people in place, the professionals in place to accommodate the growth in regards to the activity that goes.
I don't hear anything.
I'm with you, Chuck.
I'm with you, Chuck. You too, Randy.
We'll just have a conversation among ourselves.
Yeah.
Mr. Musselwhite, what would you do to alleviate traffic?
Christina, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, Joe.
Okay. What I would do is there's a traffic practice, and it needs to be implemented here. We have a lot of old infrastructure here. There's a practice called traffic calming. And what I'll do is I'm going to go in some of the worst speeding areas in Warner Robins, like Holly Street, Kimberly Road, places like this. There's a difference in a roundabout and a traffic circle. We can put traffic circles in. Part of my beautification plan for the city is putting these traffic circles in and putting trees and landscape in the center of it. And what they do is they will slow you down. They're using other cities. It's modern day engineering practice, and we're going to implement it here, and we're going to do it around Warner Robins all over town. It's very inexpensive, and we're going to get the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Musselwhite. Mr. Toms, what would you do to alleviate traffic?
Well, you know, I just know that like Mr. Lee said, we grew incredibly fast, and that caused a lot of the problems that we have in traffic. I think the easiest thing to do is to say that we do need to cut, you know, we need to cut down on some of the speeding that takes place throughout the city. We do that by just getting more police officers on the road and getting that part of it cleaned up a little bit. The other part of it is I'll have to agree with some of the others that I just really don't know. I'm not a big proponent of studies, and I'm certainly not a big proponent of studies that you get and you don't adhere to, but I think that maybe we do need to have a study done to give us the best possible way to ease some of the traffic that gets so congested in our city, and then also cut down on some of the speed areas. So I think a study might be in order on that.
Thank you, Mr. Toms. Mr. Mike Brashear, traffic, how would you alleviate it?
Well, we certainly have an issue with speeding and red light running and so forth in the city. Having our police patrol at the correct numbers, having them in place on the streets would deter some of that. I would partner with Robins Air Force Base in looking at re-incentivizing the carpooling approach to take some of the traffic off of Watson and off of Russell Parkway. It's going to eliminate speeding in the neighborhoods. If you have that issue, you pick up the phone, you call the Warner Robins Police Department, they'll document it, and they'll patrol that neighborhood to try to slow the traffic down for you. I've had the same thing out at Belmead, had it at Hatcher Estates, over at Edgebrook, in those areas, and our police department works very well with our citizens to try to help them in those situations. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us. I think we're going to try to shake this off a little bit. We've had a few technical difficulties here. Is everyone ready to shake it off with a little bit of trivia?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Please stop muting the mics, guys. So everyone's got a piece of paper ready with them, a marker. And you've got 15 seconds each for these questions. The first question: what were the two previous names of what is now known as Warner Robins? Oh, that's time, guys. Everyone hold up your answers, and I'll give you what it really is. We've got a Wellston and a number 2. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee's got like 3 videos there. York and Wellston. Miss Eva's got Wellston. We've got Wellston and what is it? Something Vegas?
Warner Vegas.
Okay. Mr. Toms?
I just had Wellston.
Okay. And Mr. Brashear?
Fagan's Mill in Wellston.
Well, guys, it is York and Wellston. Congratulations, Mr. Lee. The second question, what Warner Robins resident literally wrote the book on T-ball? Okay, guys. Time's up. Claude Lewis. That would be the answer. Anybody else have Claude Lewis?
I
Yep.
have Claude Lewis.
I have Claude Lewis.
Claude Lewis.
Did anybody not have Claude Lewis?
Yeah, he and my father did that.
As I'm sure you know, Claude Lewis was a former director of the Warner Robins.
Parks and Recreation.
Did I hear a doorbell?
I don't hear anything.
All I hear.
Thank you, Jenna. That's my colleague on the other end doing the sounds for us, Jenna Meek. So the last 4 elected mayors, they are Chuck Shaheen, our current mayor, Donald Walker, Edward Martin, and Ralph Johnson.
Is that a true-false question or what?
I didn't hear the question. Was it?
Sorry, someone keeps cutting my mic off. Please stop clicking on mics. The question is, what are the names of the four elected mayors, the 4 previous elected mayors?
True.
Yes. I agree.
The last 4 elected mayors. You should at least be able to get 2 of them.
Well, you just told them to us, so we know.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you could still hear that. Well, fine. We'll go on to the bonus question. And this is just for anyone who can raise their hand and say they know the answer. Who